Welcome back as we continue to talk about the priesthood on Matters of Faith, and we welcome Father Sean DiMaria, who was ordained to the priesthood in 2005 and is a pastor of a couple of our parishes in Allegany County, which is well over 100 miles, your parish over 100 miles from downtown Buffalo, but you have Saints Brendan Jude in Almond Alfred, and also you're linked and serve as the pastor of Blessed Sacrament Parish in Andover, and then you've got campus ministry with Alfred University and Alfred College. So you've got a lot going on in a relatively rural part of our diocese. Question, you're what I would call the new breed of priest in the Diocese of Buffalo, where you went out and worked in the real world and then had that vocation later in life, worked for 10 years, a carpet installer, worked in a cheese factory, and now you're a Catholic priest. Why the late vocation?
I think it's a discernment, what I would call a discernment process, not recognizing the Spirit moving me towards that priesthood, but I think giving me the experience of working and communicating and socializing with all these wonderful people that over the years.
I read a story in the Western New York Catholic in which you talked about having to face your fears, and once you decided that you wanted to become a priest. Can you take us back to that time?
I could. That's a funny story, actually, because I knew I wanted to be a priest at 7. So it took me a long period of time to actually say yes. But during that time, I wasn't a fan of school, period, whether it be elementary school or high school. So my grades were very low, and I just wanted to get out. I wanted to get out and work. And so the fear was education. I knew that it would take me 8 years to become a priest. And I said, no way, no way. And it was all about me at that time, too. And I finally said, I don't want to be 65 years old and say I should have done this, I should have been a priest. And that was my kickstart to move into, say yes, to seminary.
What was the reaction of your family when, you know, you've been working and you come home one day and say, I'm going to become a priest?
I think they were shocked at first. I think they always knew, but it was shocking at first. My father was, wow, this is great. And my mother was a little bit more conservative in her thinking. She was afraid that I'd be lonely. Mm-hmm. And I said to her, Mom, hey, even married people are lonely at times, but they get through that with prayer and love of people. How
has your life experience helped you in your priesthood?
I think working with people, that's the main thing. I think being able to communicate with them, being around people and just loving them.
Talk about the dynamic in your parishes, because you are in a rural part of the diocese, and yet you've got a university and a college in this very small town. It must really bring great life to your parish to have all those young people around.
Absolutely, and it's good to see them at Mass. Mm-hmm. You see them at Mass. We have, there's about 5,000 students combined on both campuses, and I would say we have about 120 who actively every single week come on their own, without their parents telling them, go to Mass, go to Mass. So I do that. I said, make sure you get to Mass, make sure you get to Mass. And it brings, it just brings the youth and the sense of what's going on in their lives to the people of that community who are well aware, and the community supports the students as well. I have a great campus minister, Chris Yarnell, and just wonderful people, parishioners who really give their all to these students.
When you talk to young men who are considering the priesthood, what do you tell them?
First thing I say is pray. Prayer, prayer, prayer. And that will come. And listen. Pay attention to what God is telling you. Pay attention to the people around you who are encouraging you into the priesthood. And try it. You can walk in, sign up. If they accept you, that's great. Go in for 1 year. Stay 1 year. But you can walk away if this isn't for you. But it's a time for prayer, reflection. Is this really what I want to do with my life? I'm the happiest guy now. I really am. I was happy superficially when I was 18 to
well, you don't
29.
Know anything at that age, really. I mean, you don't. What's the best part of being a priest for you?
Sacrament. The best sacrament, Eucharist. Mm-hmm. It's my favorite one.
Where do you see your priesthood progressing? You're a young priest, and obviously you only had a couple of classmates, and our previous guests had many more classmates. So where do you see your journey going?
My journey is to be the best parish priest I can be for the people of God, and just to bring those wonderful people to heaven. And I tell my parishioners all the time, we're called to bring people to heaven hand in hand. Do the best you can with what you have, I guess.
A little bit earlier, you talked about the fact that as a kid you really didn't like school, and you find it somewhat ironic that now you've got a campus ministry, you've got 5,000 college students that are near your parish.
Extremely. It's extremely ironic, and I love it. It's amazing how you can bring someone back to the faith. Most of those students have faith, and they had a religion or like an institutional religion. And they went, and then when they get into the college level, they back off, high school to college. And it's great to see them come back. It's great to communicate with them and share the love of Christ with them, because then they, in turn, start understanding more and sharing the love of Christ with others and their classmates. And it's very difficult for them to go back to the colleges and their peer groups and speak about Jesus and the love that Jesus has for them.
Thanks for sharing your joy and your priesthood with us and with all your parishioners, too.
Thank you.
Father Sean DiMaria joining us today on Matters of